Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. Emergency broadcast here on a Wednesday. Of course, the 1 week that we do our main podcast a day early because I'm traveling this evening, you get massive breaking news out of
It always seems to happen.
the NFL Combine. That's just our luck. We need to do it more often just so we can jinx the rest of the NFL world into making breaking news on days that we want it. But the big breaking news, according to Vic Tafur of The Athletic, Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels have apparently agreed that the Raiders won't be in on the Aaron Rodgers Sweepstakes. If the quarterback does decide he does not want to return to the Packers, the Raiders just have too many holes on their roster to trade high draft picks for a 39-year-old quarterback, and there appear to be other teams like the Jets that would. So Aaron Rodgers was always in our top 10, always in our sights, right? Made some sense. But it doesn't seem to be the way that the Raiders will be going this season, Soto.
It's kind of in line with what they've been saying. They want to go young. They want to have a long-term answer. At first, I thought to myself, you know what? Yeah, you get an MVP caliber type player, but then it's not about his attitude and stuff like that. Whatever. I don't give a shit about. I don't give a shit about that.
Mm.
What I give a shit about is the uncertainty. How long is he going to play? What are we going to have to give up? And again, and like they said in the article, I don't know that people truly appreciate how devoid of talent our defense is and how bad Gruden and Mayock left our defense.
Mm-hmm.
It is it's very, very bad. It's not just that they play poorly. They don't have really a lot of talent there. There's just a lot of spit and bubble gum put together. You have to build from somewhere, and you have to hopefully build from the inside out, right? But I mean, I just don't see us winning 4 more games just because we have Aaron Rodgers.
Really?
And you have to look at it from this perspective too. The salary cap that we spend, we have to take it from. It's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's like you're taking more away from the defense now. It's like it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
It's a zero-sum game for sure. I'm with you. I was like, look, too many holes in the defense. Who knows how long we're going to keep Rodgers or how long Rodgers wants to keep playing. We need those draft picks. We need that cap space, et cetera, et cetera. All the reasons you brought up. But then every now and then, over the last few weeks and last month and a half or so, I'm like, I stop and kick myself. I'm like, it's Aaron fucking Rodgers, right? Like to get one of this generation's best quarterbacks, arguably this last generation's best quarterback. Like that can make franchises do 180s. That can completely change things. And I kept catching myself and thinking because I keep talking myself out of it just like you. I'm like, nope. We need the money. We need the space. Let's go young. Let's build, et cetera, et cetera. All the things. And I still believe that. But then I'm like, but it's Aaron Rodgers. Like, how many MVPs has he won? Like, him alone, what could he do? What could he attract? Imagine what him and Devante can do together. Like, all these things in my head. In my heart or in my brain, I know this is the right move. I'm like, good move, Dave Ziegler. Good job, Josh McDaniels. Because I got to imagine Mark Davis was probably going to them and saying like, hey guys, a superstar that's going to sell tickets and move jerseys. We know Mark Davis is a star fucker. You're like, oh yeah, I bet you he was talking to him saying, you know what? Kick the tires on Aaron Rodgers. Like, what do you think about getting Aaron Rodgers? So props to them for playing the long game. But I wouldn't lie, Soto, if I know this is the right move. But if the news came out opposite today, that the Raiders are trading a first and second for Aaron Rodgers, he's coming to Las Vegas, it's a done deal, I would have been really jacked. I would have been really, my heart and emotion, my brain would have been like, this is a bad move, but my emotions would have just shooting fireworks. Like I would have been jacked because it's Aaron Rodgers.
It's exciting, man, but we've tried doing this in the past to a lower extent, mind you. But he was a lot younger and a lot better under a lot better contract conditions. But We did the same thing when we went after a Carson Palmer type thing when we thought we were right there, and we had a team that was just a bunch of Band-Aids slapped together, and we had some pieces. We had a nice defensive line and an offensive line, but it's like nothing that would you would call the building blocks for sustained success.
Yeah.
And I understand that we're very impatient and we've been losing for so long and blah, 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 and this and that, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, because for a long time, we've been trying to do these quick fixes that end up fucking us in the long term because we're not valuing our draft picks, because we're not valuing players that are under better contractual control. We're giving too much money for guys on their third contract, right? We're paying too much for these older, aging players and trying to catch a lightning in the bottle. We have to just say enough is enough. Let's build and still try to be competitive and still try to play the right way. But I think this is another bit of fool's gold. I don't know that we're going to see an MVP level type Aaron Rodgers again. I'm not saying we will or we won't, but he's getting older every year. It's not like you plateau once you get older. Trust me, I tell my lower back that. I'm getting older, and every year it's like, I can still do this and that. Like, well, it's not always the same.
85% of Aaron Rodgers is still the best quarterback the Raiders have ever had. Right? I mean, you're right. You're right. And again, like we're both in agreement. It's going to be, it's not going it's going this direction, right? His best days are behind him, but I still think 85% of Aaron Rodgers is crazy. But it's not the money. It's not the draft capital. It's not the player. It's the unknowns of the future. Don't give all that up for 1 year, right? I would easily, unquestionably, right this second with no doubt in my mind, do the exact same thing for Patrick Mahomes. He's got 10 more years, right? Like like we're going to have holes in the defense. We're going to have all the shit, but like having a generational quarterback.
He's an eraser. He erases mistakes. It
just cures so many problems, right? And I was like, all right, let's work on that as the seasons progress, right? Let's make the commitment to get that the most important position in sports. But like we've been saying, Aaron Rodgers, he can be done after one season, and we've given all that up for what, right?
And then all that dead cap that we have the next, 2 years.
Yep.
It's tough, man. It's a tough situation, but like you were talking about in the last show about Josh Jacobs, about the return for the investment. It's going to be a large investment when you have so many holes on your team. That's why I'm saying we got to trade back and get more picks. We don't need to be giving away picks. I'm not saying that getting Aaron Rodgers in return is necessarily giving away picks, but you're sacrificing the future for the now, and we've done that far too often.
Mm-hmm. And also, we would have been negotiating against the Jets, who could use him a lot more because the
Jets are fuck them picks. The Jets are ready to win now with the roster they have.
They have a Super Bowl. They are an Aaron Rodgers away from winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
they're going to be fucking scary if they land Aaron Rodgers, right? And we'd be negotiating against that. So even then, we're saying like, okay, like a first and a 2, like it may be more, it may be even more than that.
And it's not New York. It's not like the Jets don't have a high pick. They have they're pick 13. Yeah. It's not like it's something to sneeze at. But it's a completely different situation. How do we put ourselves in that situation? We build a team.
Yep.
The Jets have drafted 2 quarterbacks in the top 5 twice in the last 5 years, I think, right?
They haven't had a good quarterback in 20 years, or a quarterback in 20 years.
So how do you remedy that? You try to get a quarterback, right? You go through it, but you build the rest of your roster while you're doing that. And then when something like this happens, when this situation presents itself, because it's going to present itself. I think the Deshaun Watson thing is going to make it easier for players to be like, no, move me right now, and then basically make me a pseudo free agent.
That's a really good point. Like what have we been talking about the last, ever since we knew Carr was going to move on, we'd be thinking about getting a Brady or a Rodgers or whatever. It's super rare that a franchise quarterback comes in on free agency. Historically, it's been super rare.
Yeah.
But we've seen it 3-4 times in the last 3-4 years. So is that with Derek Carr?
I mean, the trade,
Brady, Deshaun Watson. I mean, those
well, Deshaun Watson was a trade.
Was a trade. Not a
Russell Wilson was a trade.
This would be a trade.
This would be a trade.
But you get my point. Like moving franchise Super Bowl winning NFL MVP quarterbacks, or even less than that, right? Like, franchise quarterbacks, like even franchise quarterback like Derek Carr don't move that often, right? Even his level, they don't move that often. I'm wondering if this is an anomaly, or it's like, okay, here's a little pocket of when it's happening, or if this is the new trend. Where, and again, we're assuming Aaron Rodgers is gonna play again, gonna ask for a trade, gonna move on. Like he could stay, he could retire. Like these are all, I still believe the most likely scenario is he stays in Green Bay. And maybe, maybe we're making the wrong. Maybe we're reading this incorrectly. Maybe it's very possible that Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels know that Rodgers is staying in Green Bay. And so this is them coming out and saying, nope, we're building for the future. We are out of the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. We don't even want him. You know what I mean? It's like when you go hit on a chick at the bar and she shuts you down. You're like, gosh, she's probably a lesbian anyway. It's like
hey, do you want to dance? Yeah. No. I said you look fat in those pants.
Come on, baby. Don't be picky. I wasn't. One of those lines, right? That could easily be the possibility too. Where they know something we don't, and they're just like leaking it to Vic Tafur of, hey, just tell them we don't want them. We're not involved. We're playing the long ball. We're playing smart.
Playing the long game. Yeah. It makes sense, man, and it goes in line with things that we've been hearing either directly or indirectly. Mm-hmm. And Ziegler, when Ziegler says, "I make decisions not with the fear of being fired. Mm-hmm. I make decisions with what I think is right." That's telling you without telling you that I want to build for a long term. I don't want to just do a firework where we're a flash in the pan. Here we are, then we're gone. Yeah. That's what the Rams did. The Rams are fucked, and they were okay with that. They had 2 bites at the apple within 4 years.
Oh, I sacrificed the next 20 years to go to 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, well, they were in the situation to do so, right?
That's what I'm saying. I would absolutely do that if I was the Rams.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to, again, the problem is a lot of our fans think that we're in the same position that the Rams were when they went and said, fuck those picks. We are not in that position. Yeah. They were a much better roster than we were when we started getting that championship pieces here and there. We are not there yet. We can get there, but we have to do what the Rams did and be really shitty for a long time and build that roster with high picks and hit on those picks to be able to do that. Because right now, getting 1 or 2 pieces, we're not going to go anywhere doing that.
If you're just joining the chat, welcome. Breaking news, Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels have apparently agreed that the Raiders won't be in on the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes if the quarterback does decide he does not want to return to the Packers. The Raiders just have too many holes on their roster, I'll say, to trade high draft picks for a 39-year-old quarterback, and there appear to be other teams like the Jets that would. Another element of this is, what does this say about Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, if it's true, right? If my theory that, because my working theory is that Aaron Rodgers is staying in Green Bay. And I think you were you're like 80% sure he was staying in Green Bay as well.
No, I was saying he's going to stay.
He's staying, right? We're both, pretty sure he's going to stay. I think what's happening is that Ziegler and McDaniels know that, and so they're getting ahead of it and saying we don't want him. If that's not true, if it's true that they're just like, look, we did the math, we're going for the future, we're fine. This is yet another piece that tells us, if we're right, if this theory is correct, that Ziegler and McDaniels are confident that Mark Davis is giving them enough rope to develop again this season, where it's not like, look, 6 wins last season, it's not make or break this season. I'm starting to believe that they believe that. I think Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler believe that Mark Davis is giving them not a rebuild year, but not a must-win now season. I don't know if they're going to get it, but I think they believe it.
I think so too. And I think that we need to wrap our heads around the fact that we probably won't win that many games next year. It's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot, especially on the message board, I say that, we're going to be terrible. We're going to be trash. This roster is not going anywhere. This roster is very unbalanced. Mm-hmm. It's terrible on the defense. I had not seen a roster that's this poor in so many spots in a long time. We have nothing on the interior. We have one defensive end. We have one corner-ish kind of guy that's a lot better on the inside than he is on the outside. Linebacker, who knows? Safety, who knows? We have so little talent on the defensive end right now that it's going to be hard for us to compete, even to get to an average level. Because I honestly think right now, if you have an average defense and you have a killer offense, you can win a Super Bowl with that. But you have to have that average defense. You have to have that opportunistic defense.
We haven't had an average defense in 20 years.
Just to get to that point. Yeah. Just to get to that point, it's going to take a long time.
The other kind of piece to this puzzle was Davante Adams. He left Aaron Rodgers to come to Las Vegas to play with his buddy Derek Carr. Carr plays 15 games, benched, gone, won't play with him again. And now he's been thinking, because Davante Adams has been like kind of trolling on social media, like, hey, Aaron, like the seat's open, we made some magic in Green Bay. Let's do it in the desert. And he's been trolling to try to get him. I wonder how this affects Davante. Now, I'm not saying he's going to sit, right? He's not going to like throw a tissy fit and not play because, Aaron Rodgers isn't coming to Las Vegas. I'm not saying that. But at some point, you got to have, at some point, these emotions have to do something to you. If you're a superstar wide receiver like Davante Adams, you just, you're breaking Raiders records in your first season here. And you're like, fuck, like the guy I moved here to play with is gone. The guy that I could have brought with me isn't coming. I'm probably going to get a rookie or Stidham or someone like that. Is this doing anything to Davante Adams in your mind?
I don't think so, man. Look, ultimately, Davante has said it multiple times. Did he come here because he wanted to play with Derek Carr? Yes. But ultimately, before he knew Derek Carr was alive, he wanted to be a Raider. And he says he wants to be a Raider for a long time. Josh McDaniels said it. Dave Ziegler said it, that Davante Adams has earned the right to be let in on the conversation of what's going to happen with the next quarterback. He fell short of saying that he's going to be consulted or he's going to be asked or have input, but he is going to be let in on the conversation of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't think that he's going to pick the next quarterback or anything like that, but I do think that he is going to be made aware of the plan and have to be comfortable with it.
So now, if Aaron Rodgers, so Tom Brady, for all intents and purposes, is out, right? Let's assume he stays retired. It's probably what's going to happen. He's come out of retirement before, but let's assume for the sake of this argument he's out. Let's assume for the sake of this argument that Aaron Rodgers is staying in Green Bay. The quarterback battle or the quarterback pool is shrinking every week, right? So the quarterback needy teams, us, getting a little bit more, not desperate, but it's going to cost a little bit more, right? Now, are the Jets going to try to move up in the draft and get a quarterback? Are any of these other teams that maybe wanted Aaron Rodgers moving up in the draft? If we're not getting him, if he's staying put, that's just one less asset for what's already a massive seller's market, has just become even more of a seller's market with one less potential quarterback in the carousel.
Yeah, and that's why I think we're going to be off the carousel. I don't think we're going to go after any one of those big name guys because honestly, I don't see anyone that's available in free agency to be a needle mover.
I mean, all carousel, draft and free agency.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, that
Anyone
too.
Who's a quarterback by any means necessary.
Again, I don't know that we're necessarily going to spend a high pick on a quarterback. There's guys that we can get that are a little bit later on in the draft. I don't like saying this, but there's players that I think that Josh McDaniels can work with and get to maybe not an elite level, but a very good level. And I think the word elite gets thrown around a lot. There's like 3 elite quarterbacks in the NFL, and there's some very good ones, and there's some that have elite qualities to them.
I think there's more than 3 elite quarterbacks. Come on. Patrick
Okay.
Mahomes, Josh Allen.
I mean, that's what you
Aaron
think.
Rodgers.
I said I think there are 3 elite. You can say elite quarterbacks.
Okay.
3.
When I say elite, I think of quarterbacks that you can win Super Bowls with, and that can fill in holes in a roster. And I think there's probably like 7 or 8 guys like that.
That's way too many.
Yeah, there is. Come on.
Okay. We'll disagree on that.
There's far less. It's weird because there's less decent quarterbacks than there are teams, right? Like there's not 32 solid quarterbacks in the NFL. There isn't. There's like 22 solid quarterbacks and like 8 elite quarterbacks that you're like, okay, this is a guy that can lead us to a Super Bowl. Like he can be the man. He can be a Super Bowl MVP and win us a Super Bowl, right?
I mean, there's a lot of guys that can be a Super Bowl MVP. It's how many of them can get us to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Like my big thing was our old quarterback able to go on the road and beat a Cincinnati, a KC, and a Buffalo Bills back to back weeks.
Yeah,
I didn't see it. That's the thing is, yeah, in one game, Nick Foles can win you a Super Bowl if it's one game. But how many can get you there? How many can go through that gauntlet to get you there?
In fairness to Nick Foles, he won you a playoff race and a Super Bowl. And that's it, right? That's all he had. He had the one postseason where he was unbelievable, and then that's it. Let's not undermine what fucking Big Dick Nick did in that run. Like that was pretty nuts. But there's a point to that. Like Eli Manning, I believe it or not, Derek Carr is better than Eli Manning in almost every single metric. Quarterback rating, completion percentage, touchdown to interception ratio, like all those things, right? He won 2 Super Bowls because, well, one, the Giants far better of a team than the Raiders had in the last 9 years, and he played hot when he needed to, right? He got pretty hot in the playoffs, like when he played
biggest when the biggest moments.
Exactly. So there's also that element too, is a right quarterback that can play big when you need to, maybe and on the right team. Like there's a combination of things, right? Like there's quarterbacks that like, all right, the entire team leans on this quarterback most of the time, and he's Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson in his prime. And then there's like, look, our quarterback's above average, and sometimes the defense carries the team, sometimes the running game carries the team, sometimes the quarterback carries the team. That's the kind of well-rounded football team we're all kind of hoping for. But that's why quarterbacks are so crazy, because the right quarterback can cover up all those warts. Right?
They're a big eraser.
Take care of all that problem.
The math problem in the NFL is a salary cap, because you can't spend money everywhere. And the big eraser of problems on your team is a quarterback.
Yeah. Well, the salary cap's a problem for the Rams, the Broncos, and the rich ones. Salary cap's
it's for everybody. It's for everybody, because you can't throw money at every position.
But that's my point, right? Like if this were baseball, the Raiders would be the Royals, because they're one of the poorest teams, right? If this were, thank God there's a salary cap, because now the Raiders can keep up. You know what I'm saying? If we were Walmart, if we were the Waltons in Denver, they just buy everybody. There's nothing we can do about it, right? Because they have the deepest pockets. So thank God there's a salary cap if you're a Raider fan. Word. Anything else?
No, man, I got to get going.
All right. That's it for us. Again, if you missed it, breaking news, according to Vic Tafur of The Athletic, Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels have apparently agreed. This is the exact wording. Apparently agreed. I feel like that's interesting choice of words, but because it's Vic Tafur, we're gonna roll with it as fact, because he's that level of a journalist. Dave Ziegler and McDaniels have apparently agreed the Raiders won't be in on the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. Again, my working theory is that Rodgers was never going to go anywhere. They know that, so they want to get ahead of the story. Either way, Tom Brady not happening, Aaron Rodgers not happening. We're drafting your next quarterback in the draft in April.
I think so.
Period. End of story. All right. Until next time, knock on wood if you're with me.